What's going on YouTube? Zachary Kramer with Cool Cars for Sale, bringing you the coolest cars that are for sale on the internet. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the 5 pros and cons of owning an E46 M3. I know what you're thinking. There are hundreds of videos with the pros and cons about the E46 M3. Why are you making it? I'm doing this because everybody has a different point of view. Everybody has a different experience. I want to share my experience with you guys and provide more content so you can make a healthy decision on whether or not you want to buy this car. Let's talk about the cons of owning an E46 M3. The first con about this car is the comfortability. The suspension is very, very hard as compared to other cars. Obviously, if you put coilovers on it, then it's even more hard, but from factory, it's pretty stiff. You're gonna feel every single bump, every single pebble, every single crack. And God forbid you hit a pothole, just pull over because your heart's gonna explode and you're gonna start crying. The second con about the E46 M3 is gas mileage. You're gonna be spending a ton of money on gas. From factory, they say it's about 15 miles a gallon, 22 highway. Combined 17, 18, whatever they say. If you're an animal like myself, you're lucky to get 9 miles to the gallon. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, gas is as cheap as it's ever been in my lifetime. It's about $2.50 for 93. I don't know how long that's gonna last, and when the prices do go up, it's gonna eat my wallet even more. The third con of the car is the rear seats. I know what you're thinking. Who cares about the rear seats? I personally don't really give a crap about my passengers, but I need to find something to talk about because this car is just perfect. The rear seats don't really have a lot of room. So if you do care about your passengers, which you shouldn't care about your passengers, it will be a slight problem for them, not for you. Number 4, the sound. I know what you're thinking. It's a 50-50 split. Some people love the sound and some people hate the sound. Personally, I can't stand the sound. It is so raspy. Without an exhaust, I mean, it just sounds...
It's a bit like someone who's been smoking and who's in desperate need of a cigarette. You know, they're a bit like...
just coughing it up. A lot of people, what they do to get rid of this noise is they'll put rasp eliminators. I'm not sure if that affects the horsepower or not, but I got to assume that it probably restricts airflow somewhat, but what do I know? The 5th and final con of the E46 is maintenance. If you buy a neglected car, you are going to pay double what you paid for the car in maintenance. If you buy a $5,000 to $10,000 car, you're going to spend 10 to 15 grand getting it to be where you want it to be. I mean, these cars are notorious for Vanos issues, rod bearing issues, and of course, the most expensive of the issues, the subframe cracking. If you don't take care of those problems, it's gonna run you a big, big bill. So those are 5 cons of the E46. I mean, really, are they cons? Not really. But let's go on to the pros. Number 1, the design of the car. In my opinion, this is completely subjective, but in my opinion, BMW designed the most beautiful cars in the early 2000s. I mean, look at the 7 Series, look at the 5 Series, look at the 3 Series. All of them are absolutely stunning and iconic, and I believe that the E46 M3 is the most beautiful and timeless design BMW has ever made, period. The second pro of the E46 M3 is the driving experience. I personally have never driven anything this amazing. I mean, when you bang through those gears, the handling of the car, the feel of the car, I mean, it's honestly a pretty heavy car, but it just feels very light. You know, the E36 was probably, I would say, 300 to 400 pounds lighter than this car, but somehow this car actually feels lighter. Probably in part to the steering, but I don't know how they did it. It's unbelievable to drive, and I highly recommend you test drive one someday. The third pro of this car is the power. You're getting 333 horsepower and 262 foot-pounds of torque from a 3.2 liter straight six that revs all the way up to almost 9,000. It is unbelievable, this engine. It does 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds, which even by today's standards is still pretty good. It's a respectable car. I mean, what more could you want? You have speed, you have handling, you have a beautiful engine that revs all the way up. I personally can't think of anything else I would rather drive. Pro number 4 of the E46 M3 is the clout. That's right, this one's for you, Armand, if you're watching, which I know you are. The amount of respect that the car community gives this car is just unbelievable. If you pass anyone that knows even a little bit about cars, this thing puts a big smile on their face. They're gonna wave, they're gonna give you a thumbs up. It's gonna make you feel good, and it's gonna make them feel good. Lastly, number 5, the best part about owning an E46 M3, the value. These cars are going up in value every single year, and it's not even considered a classic car yet. I spent about $20,000 on my E46, and honestly, I get offers for 18, 19, 20, all the way up to 21,000 all the time, and I've only had the car for 2 months. So it definitely is going to hold its value. The more miles I put on it, it'll slightly go down, but over time the value of the car is continuing to go up, so it might even balance itself out. So essentially, if you buy right, you can drive these cars essentially for free. So to recap everything I said, I personally don't recommend daily driving the E46 M3. However, if you're looking for a second car just to throw around on the weekends, maybe a track day or two, or maybe some spirited driving up in the mountains, the E46 M3 is 100% a car that every single car person needs to own at some point in their life. If you like what I had to say, please like, comment, and possibly subscribe. It lets me know that my videos are good and I can keep making them for you guys. Thank you. Stay safe and healthy.